So the first half of this year for me was characterized by writing largely. And then after writing a piece called Choose Love Now, which invited us to step into the new pattern, making love the top priority, so that we would collectively be on the direct path to the realization of love in our lives. I haven't published anything more, and I've been doing a lot of, you could say, R&D, and I deepened multiple times since that last post, and to the point where I remembered Thomas Aquinas's quote, because he wrote so much. He wrote prolifically in the 12th, I think it was the 12th or 13th century, and towards the end of his life, he just stopped writing, and people wondered why. And he said, "Everything I have written seems like straw by comparison with what I have seen and what has been revealed to me." And so I'm really relating to that right now because I appreciate the things that I wrote, and I learned how to write with a kind of lucidity that really conveys a confidence and a directness and a pointer to truth. But I see now there are layers beyond, and so I'd have to go back and rewrite everything if I wanted it to really reflect where I am now, which I don't think I will do. I might rewrite a couple of things that are sort of important mainstays on the website. And I do sense, though, that writing will happen again, but it will come from a different place, and we'll see what that looks like. In particular, I've been exploring the power of transmission that's not mediated by words. And this morning, I noticed that, well, because I calibrate language very precisely, I noticed that the words were no longer holding their meanings. They were no longer holding the calibrations. And I know that in the last few weeks, especially, I've been shifting a lot in terms of further clarity, further awakening even. And so everything is new, and everything that I wrote and all the meanings of the words have all shifted. So I'm very present to the fluidity of reality, and surrendered to the fact that nothing I write will maintain as it first, maintain my sense of it anyway when it first appeared. So yeah, it's just an interesting way to be in the world. And I have a sense that as this process, this further deepening and awakening proceeds, that words will, in the limit case anyway, lose their meaning altogether. And I'm very curious about that. Well, it's not Alzheimer's, it's something else, but maybe coming.
Well, may I offer a threefold awareness about what you offer there?
Of course.
First, we are doing this call on a Monday. Just 2 days ago on a Saturday, I spent a full 7-hour global Zoom event with close to 250 friends from a global community that I've been involved with for many, many years. And one of the themes that I introduced earlier in that session, explorative session, was this idea of living a life where every day is a draft. And I said as much. There were several themes that I spoke to on that day that I've never spoken to before. They were first time ever introduced. Some of them hibernated, percolated, fermented in my process for decades, but I've never spoken of them. But one of the important propulsions that catalyzed the conversation was this idea that we can choose to live a life where every day we are sketching the latest draft, and we're not married to that draft. So that's the beauty of electronic copy. You can actually go back to, as you say, and re-edit what you wrote a few months ago, or you can also choose to leave it there as it is and write an updated version and give people and yourself the benefit of the evolving process in you. So that's awareness number one. Awareness number two, the following day I was with my 10, now nearly 11 months old granddaughter and her mother, and we spoke about the extraordinary plasticity, brain plasticity at the toddler years, and how when you raise a child with the attunement and respect that when she is frustrated, she is not saying or doing anything to trigger you, but she is trying to communicate. And how important it is to say, I know you're trying to communicate to me. I am trying to understand what it is you're trying to communicate, rather than stop it or anything like that, which was so beautiful in the way her mother demonstrated that. And I told her that I was so impressed that I almost wanted to come back again for another childhood to enjoy an improved version, because it was just so inspiring to see the way she was with her. And it had that same tone of, as a parent and as a child, every day you are learning. And we talked about the idea of there is no such thing as perfect parent. What there is this idea that we can demonstrate even in the toddler years that every day I'm a little more aware, more enlightened, more attuned, so I can be more present in the moment for you, the new young life that's coming into the world and is looking for help and open communication. And it had that same tone of living into the here and now and not being captured by any imaginative or book versions of what perfection might mean or look like, which are always fantasies we hold in our minds, some dogmatic or rigid pictures of how I should be, rather than how I am emerging in the moment. And hopefully today I'm a little wiser than, or perhaps better to say, a little less stupid or foolish than I was yesterday. And perhaps tomorrow I can be an improved version yet again. So that's the second awareness. The third thing, relative to what you said about language, what you experience with language, I hear at two different layers of meaning, or two causations that would produce the feeling of the words are empty. One is the realms, the cosmology, the invisible topography of energy that powered the set of ideas that you were communicating. Those are not fixed topographies as we see when we go up for a beautiful hike in the mountains here in the Pacific Northwest. When we talk about the topography of the invisible world, the worlds of ideas, of energies, of potential, and above those, the causing realms that power these realms. So I'm already kind of suggesting that, as in the case of when we look at maps, we can look at different layers of a structure of the earth. We can also look at different layers in terms of the structures, even though the word structure is almost too harsh, too hard, but we can talk about different layers when we talk about the invisible or the unseen worlds. They are continually shapeshifting. So to the degree that I'm going to update, I said 2, but I'm actually going to mid-flight move into 3. So those realms are shapeshifting, and to the degree that you're getting attuned to those ideas that inspire you in what you write and say, you wake up one morning and you say, yeah, somebody moved the cheese in those realms, or the cheese in the unseen, invisible energy realms, causing realms, moved again, and now I need to decode and codify what I'm reading and interpreting and intuiting, and it requires new language. So that's the higher realm. There is the middle range, which is you in yourself elevated in your own process. So where you're able to translate something at one level, you are now sourcing the next elevation, the next altitude in that ladder of realization. And so when you climb to the next rung on that ladder, you now need to use a different word, a different concept. And then there is the third reason, or the third dimension, which is if you have done extensive teaching and talking and communicating and you used a certain composition of words. This is why when you talk about love in the way you talked about it before, it's always one of those difficult words. In one of my earlier writings, actually in the writing, that the blessing that Sarah and I, we read in the wedding of our son and his wife, I wrote there that love is the second most confused word in the dictionary after the word God, because it has been so overused. So there is a bulk commodity feeling and meaning and experiences that people attach to the word. So you say the word love, the chances of somebody actually experiencing new original registration, resonance, meaningful connection in the flow of your communication is quite minimal. So that's why I propose in another call that we've had recently that we at some point take the word love and actually work at the 7 different levels or dimensions of love to rescript, recodify the potential, the energy potential of this word. So, but to the point I'm making, you say something, you used a certain configuration of ideas, and if you have used it a lot, then at some point it feels like a soda water where the soda is no longer in the water because you've used it, so it was used up. And now you need to configure new language to transfer the conductive inner meaning and significance of process that you have attached to that idea. So you'll be searching, and typically what will happen in that is you'll be searching back in yourself for you to not be operating from a ready-made, framed, choreographed language. Like right now, everything I'm saying is completely in the moment in response to something you said a minute ago. And so there is no way for me to be choreographed, but often when we work with groups of people, we will have certain segments that are somewhat half ready-made or thought about. And those can run stale if we have used the language before, and then you need to, I find in my process, I need to reconnect again in myself, go to the higher cycle in myself and come up with new language.
I'm very aware. I've had the experience many times of the causal realms shifting, and so then the maps are out of date. And this may be why sacred texts no longer have the same resonance after time passes. Maybe the rishis saw and were absolutely clear in what they described, but maybe what they described is no longer what is available to us in the causal realms and the energy domain. So there's that. And of course, my process has contributed hugely to my needing new language because I see clearly where I was not clear, if you will. So then the third being what I would say the novelty, the importance of having a fresh articulation so that it doesn't kind of connect with the receptors of the known, as you said so eloquently. So I'm completely with you on that.
Well, just to stay with that last comment about novelty, because the brain loves novelty, but in a different way and parallel way, the soul and the spirit love novelty in the sense of not just a new reference, that's the brain way of being joyous about novelty. For the soul-spirit compound, it's more the novelty in the sense of the energy potential that's released in a new cosmology of ideas. And so we need new language, we need new arts, we need new modes of communication and expression, Because if we are engaging with an evolutionary process, as we both feel is very prime now in humanity, then language is going to be very important. But language, the English language we use, and I love also the Hebrew language, is one dimension, or maybe more than one dimension, but we need the other languages of communication.